guys, it's Jasmine. I'm back with another video. I know I've been posting quite a few makeup tutorials on here, and I thought I would go ahead and break it up with a kind of spooky personal story that's happened with my friend Megan. If you're really interested in seeing more of the makeup tutorials, I'm gonna go ahead. I think I have 3 more that I'm gonna post, but I just wanted to go ahead and kind of break it up. That way, if you're not into makeup, you're not just sitting there going, really, another one? Like, can I get a story time? So let's go ahead and jump right in. This pretty much me and her were joined at the hip for many, many years. She's been my friend since I want to say we were 13 or 14. And we spent a lot of time together and we kind of did dumb stuff together. So I thought that it would be interesting to go ahead and just limit all of the little creepy, spooky things that have happened with us. So if you were to ask me what my craziest experience with Megan was, I would say that it had to have been the Ouija board and what happened after that, but I'm gonna hold on to that story until the end of this video. So here's more of a true life, nothing paranormal happened. I had a MySpace stalker, and I'm going to make a video about that, but he pretty much ran into me at Walmart in San Jacinto, and he followed us out of the store. I didn't even know he was in there. He had followed us out to the car without me knowing and just walked up right behind me and was like, oh, hi. And I was like, hi, like, who are you? And I didn't realize that he was the guy that I had been talking to on MySpace, because he had a fake profile picture, and being 18, 19, like, I didn't think about that, you know, catfishing wasn't a huge thing back then. And he just started talking to me and stuff, and I just got freaked out and got into the car. So if you want to hear more about that story, I'm going to be posting that here soon. Another time, me and her were supposed to go to the movies, but us being teenagers, we decided that we didn't want to go to the movies, that we wanted to drive around because she had just gotten her license and we wanted to look cool. So we were driving around with the windows rolled down and the music playing loud, and just literally driving around neighborhoods, just being cool, because, you know, we were cool and we were teenagers and we were driving and we're free and all of that kind of stuff. And to this day, we still say we should have just seen that damn movie. So what happens is we turned down one of the streets in San Jacinto, and I was showing my friend the old house that I lived at, and I was like, yeah, I used to live here. There was a lot of weird things that happened there, blah, 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 blah. And then, like, this guy, because we're driving kind of slow, this guy is in his front yard and he's like, hey, pull over. And we were like, oh no, we're good. And he's like, no, for real, pull over. And we're like, no, like, we're fine, like, thanks anyways. And so he like jumps into his car and we're like, oh shit, like, seriously? And so he jumps into his car and he starts following us. And we are speeding up and we're driving and we're like, oh shit, like, he's really chasing us right now. And the only reason we knew it was him is because he had a headlight out. And I'm like, really? Like, could this get any creepier? So somehow, some way, we're speeding through San Jacinto and we end up on Cibola Reservation. And this guy is just hauling ass chasing us. And then all of a sudden we were able to kind of turn down a side street real fast. And luckily that side street turned into a cul-de-sac. And I don't know how it happened, but we made every single turn perfectly to get out of that cul-de-sac. And he never caught up to us. And to this day, I still freak out if I see a car with one headlight. I'm like, oh, that's him. Another time we had went to Vegas, but we were staying at Whiskey Pete's at State Line. And there was a lot of downtime in the hotel because at that point we were having to drive with her mom and her sister. And so we weren't able to just like do what we wanted, and they only wanted to go in for a couple hours. So for the most part, we stayed at Whiskey Pete's, but we did go into Vegas. Anyways, so many weird things happened in that hotel. It was the weirdest thing. Like, I remember one time we were sitting there and I'm getting ready and she's getting ready, and then all of a sudden the hairbrush flew across the room and we looked at each other like, what the fuck just happened? And I mean, when I said it was thrown, like, there was force behind it. Something was very upset with us and it almost hit me. So I kind of felt like it was geared towards me because I had the weirder experiences. She still had experiences, but like, hers were a little more like she was just having these sudden bouts of anger, and like she would say weird things to me, and she's just never really done that until after this experience right here. Then I'll tell you the creepiest one. But there was that happened. And then I know one time we were down in the lobby and we were looking at Bonnie and Clyde's car. And as soon as we walked by it, we both got cold and we just got kind of nauseous, if that makes sense, and like panicky. Now, I don't think that it was Bonnie and Clyde that was there personally. I don't think they're the ones that are haunting the hotel. I just think that, you know, the hotel in general just has some weird vibes. And then another time I was locked inside of the bathroom in our hotel room, and it only lasted for maybe a minute. And by the time I really started panicking, like, why can't I come out of the bathroom? The door just opened suddenly. And so I don't know what locked me in there. That was definitely another scary one. Another time we were in Tijuana and we were at my grandma's house. And my grandma's house is like the epitome of like a Tijuana house. You know, it has the concrete floors. My uncle's built all of the walls with like rebar and concrete. And so like it's definitely a sturdy house, but it's definitely like the typical nicer house that you would see in Tijuana. It's not like one of the ones that are made out of like doors and wood, like random boards that you find. Like this was like a legit house. It had the front yard and everything. So I would say that my grandma had more money versus like other people that live in Tijuana, because if you've ever been there, you know there's some really, really bad parts and some really sad parts. So my grandma definitely had the cash to be able to build that. And so we were staying in the middle room, and my dad and my uncle were staying in the other room. So in the middle room, it was me, Megan, and my sister. And my sister had already knocked out, and me and Megan were sitting in the room, and all of a sudden, like, we were feeling electricity come off of, it was like rabbit ears, pretty much. It was newer version of rabbit ears, because my grandma didn't have cable. What you did at that point in Tijuana is you would just buy the rabbit ears and you would be able to pick up signal and all that kind of stuff. And so we felt electricity coming off of those rabbit ears, to the point like when you would walk, you could just put say you were about this far away, even a little bit further, you could just put your hand like that and you would feel the electricity coming off, and you would hear the like the static, and your hair would just stand on end, and it made you feel sick. And she was like, dude, that's weird. And I'm like, I know it's weird, but at the same time, like, everything here is kind of Jimmy rigged. Like, you know, there aren't the regulations that there are in the United States down here, so like I wouldn't trip. And so, you know, we kept feeling that electricity come off and everything, and then there was beds on each side of the wall. So here's one bed, and then here's another bed, and then there was a nightstand in between, if that makes sense. So we were over on this bed, and then all of a sudden I'm like, well, and then the rabbit ears were on the other side. So I go and I jump on that bed, and I get electrocuted. Not bad or anything, but enough to make me jerk. And like I had a headache and everything. And I'm like, yo, like we're just gonna unplug this, because like there's a short in it and I'm not trying to die. I went to go unplug it. That fucking thing was already unplugged. There was no electricity to it. And as soon as I realized that there was no electricity to it, it stopped. And I was like, no. Another time in that same place, I think I want to say it was later that night, we went to sleep. And so me and my sister were in one bed and Megan was in the other bed. And what happened was, I'm laying there and I'm almost asleep, and she's in her bed and she's almost asleep, and we're talking, and she goes, do you see that? And I said, do I see what? Oh my God, my dog just scared the bejeebus out of me. Ooh, she made a growly noise. Okay, whew, breathe. Whew, all right. And she's like, do you see that? And I was like, yeah, I do, I see it. And she's like, what is it? And I was like, I don't know, but it's white and it's misty and it's standing in there. And looking back, I'm wondering if it was my Uncle Guillermo, because Guillermo passed away in that room. And if you want to really get into it, my whole family thinks that like there was like witchcraft done on him, and that he died because he was cursed by a witch. Now you can believe that or you can't, but it was a really bizarre way that he died. He literally was fine one day, the next day he was in bed, and then like within a week he was just dead, and his body just shut down and there was no reason for it. So everybody says that he made this woman mad, like deeper down into Mexico, and he made her really mad, and so she like did witchcraft on him and she killed him. So I don't know how true that is, but my Uncle Guillermo, he passed away in that room. And so I was like, maybe it's my Uncle Guillermo. And she was like, I don't care who it is, it's freaking me out. And of course I'm the little bitch, and I was like, well, I ain't getting up. Like, it can hang out right there by the door because I'm not getting up. And she was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And you know when you're scared, everything like seems farther away. Like everything seems harder. I don't know if you have that issue, or like if you've ever had a bad dream where you're like running and running and running, but you never get there. I don't know if we were in that mentality or not, but she goes and she's like, I'm gonna go for it. And she jumps out of bed and she runs to turn on the light, and she, being scared, and you know, being scared plus it being really dark in the room, she ends up slamming into the door, boom! And she turned on the light, and I remember she was like, oh my head. So that happened. And then now is the scariest story. This is one of the times that I have been the most scared in my life. So me and her are in Hemet at this point, and oh my god, we were back in Hemet, and we were playing with a Ouija board in her room. And this was one of those like cheap glow-in-the-dark Ouija boards. It wasn't like a legit one that you see in the movies and stuff, even though to this day I still want to own one. I don't want to use it, but I just want to own it because I think they look cool. But anyways, this is like literally one of those plastic glow-in-the-dark cheap Ouija ones. But let me tell you, it still works. Don't play with those, just don't. So we're doing the Ouija board, we're playing with it, and like we're asking it questions, and it's like legitimately answering these questions quick. In fact, it predicted my pregnancy, and I was shocked. I did not know that it was gonna predict my pregnancy like that, but it did. And I only realized that because I found a paper a couple years ago with all of the information written down, because I'm a hoarder and I still had it. And mind you, this happened when we were 16. I'm 30. So a couple months ago I found one, and I wrote down, I'm like, when I should have my babies, or when I should have my first baby. And it was the exact date. It said that October 1st, but then it said August 26th, and it said 2 boys. So I thought I was gonna have 2 boys, and technically it was right because my due date was October 1st, but I delivered them on August 26th. So I predicted that. It predicted a lot of other things. And then we were talking to it, and suddenly it got weird in her room. And she had a guitar that was leaning up against the wall, and we heard the strum on the guitar, like bling. So we were like, what is that? And then we go and we're continuing to use the Ouija board, and we're using it and stuff. And then the planchette, the little square, it just starts like spinning around in circles and spinning and spinning and spinning. And like we're still holding it at this point, so it's not like it was moving on its own, but it's spinning. And me and her looked at each other, and we just got this like sick feeling. We just felt like something was not right, and we just started hearing noises all around us, and they weren't like scratching or, you know, like ooh, nothing like that. It was just noises. It just felt like a knock or a creak, but it was all around us. And so like we moved our hands, and it was still kind of moving a little bit, but we weren't sure if it was moving because we moved our hands so much that we kind of made it spin or what, but it was moving. And it just got really, really weird in there. And so we went ahead, we grabbed it, we said goodbye, and we put that shit away. We were like, we're not playing with this anymore. Another time, I don't know how true, I remember another time we were playing with it, and we asked who we were talking to, and it said Zozo, and we didn't know. We're like, what the hell is a Zozo? And now I see all these internet phenomenons, and they're like, oh yeah, you know, the Ouija board demon Zozo. And I look back and I'm like, oh shit, like, is this true? Were we really talking to him? We didn't talk to him for long. He didn't want to answer our questions. He started trying to like give us other things, and we were, well, I don't know, we ended up saying goodbye to him. Another night, this is the scariest night, I think, of one of the scariest nights of my life. We were hanging out, and it was super early in the morning. I want to say it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and she was on the phone with her boyfriend Tony, and she had been acting a little weird, but like not really. She just felt very standoffish, and I personally thought she was mad at me because she was just being distant, and I'm like, well, maybe she didn't want me to spend the night tonight because, like, you know, she's wanting to talk to her boyfriend on the phone, because at this point he lived in Rialto, and so they had the long distance relationship. And so she's sitting there and she looks at me and she takes the phone, because it was back in like the early 2000s. We didn't have cell phones. Hers was like just a typical cordless phone. And she takes the phone and she starts slamming it into her head. And I'm sitting there like, what the fuck is happening? And she's like, here, talk to Tony. And she gives me the phone. And Tony's like, what's up? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, she just started hitting herself in the head with the phone. And he was like, has she been acting a little weird tonight? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. And he goes, I think she's possessed by a demon. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear that. Okay, I don't want to hear it. She's not. And like, she looks over at me when he said it on the phone, and I don't think she could have heard it in her eyes. She like looked at me, her eyes got all black and dilated, and she starts smiling at me. And her eyes, her eyes are dark. Her eyes are very, very dark, but they were a different dark. Like, her eyes are so dark naturally that you don't really see the difference between the pupil and the regular iris. It's just all one color because she has very dark brown eyes, but they look different. I don't know how to explain it. They just looked different. They looked shinier too, if that makes sense. Like, versus just being dark, it's like they were dark, but they had this creepy sheen to them. And she like looked at me and she's like, hi. And I said, hi. And I'm like, do you want to talk to Tony? And she's like, nope. And I said, okay. And she starts doing this. She's like, look, dust, dust, dust. And I'm like, why am I saying dust? Like, she was making dust. And I don't know how she was making dust. It was the weirdest thing. And so she starts saying, do you hear them? Like, do you hear them talking? And I was like, no. And she's like, they're talking to us. Squeak, squeakity squeak, 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 squeakity squeak, squeak. Do you hear them? And I said, no, I don't. And then I'm sitting there and I'm on the phone with Tony, and he's overhearing this, and he was like, this is creepy. And I'm like, yeah, bro, like, I agree. And then all of a sudden that damn guitar against the wall strummed, and scared the bejeebus out of me. And so I told her, I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. And she's like, leaving so soon? And I'm like, why is she talking like this? Like, this is not Megan. This is not the Megan that I know. And I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And so I go into the bathroom, I'm like, here, talk to Tony. I go into the bathroom and I'm sitting there, and I didn't have to go. I was just like, what do I do? Like, she's getting creepy, and she was just making me very, very uncomfortable. I felt threatened, and I just didn't know what to do. And so like, I go back in there, and she was like, you didn't even go to the bathroom. And I had flushed the toilet and everything to make it seem like I did. And I was like, yeah, I did. And she was like, I know you didn't go to the bathroom. And I was like, son of a bitch, like, what do I do? And I'm a huge fan of Slipknot, but I kept looking over at her Slipknot poster that was right by her bed, and it was scaring the hell out of me. Between her acting weird and then looking over and like seeing the creepy makeup that Slipknot wears, I was just like, I'm so done with being here, and I didn't know what to do. So I go and decide that I'm going to tell her mom what's going on because I'm freaked out. And she's on the phone with Tony, and she says again, she's like, here, go talk to Tony. And she gives me the phone. So I'm talking to Tony, and I think she said she had to go to the bathroom. And I told Tony, I'm like, dude, I'm about to go tell her mom that like she's acting weird because I'm uncomfortable with the situation, and I don't know what she's gonna do. And he's like, all right, I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna go to bed. Like, let me know what's going on in the morning. So I go to her mom's room, and I knock on the door, and her mom comes to the door, and she's like, what's up? And I'm like, Megan is acting really, really weird. I was like, she's acting strange. Her eyes look different, and she's just kind of scaring me. And she goes, okay, go sleep on the couch. And I just remember that like she went in and she's like, Megan, it's time for you to go to bed. And Megan's like, why, mother? And she was like, I'm not doing this right now, Megan. Go to bed. And she told me, she was like, you sleep on the couch. And so I slept on the couch, and then as soon as it was light outside, I went home. And me and her hung out after that, and she was totally fine. I mean, me and her are still friends. I'm going to her son's birthday party this Sunday. Totally normal. I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know if it was that house, if it was us playing with the Ouija board. It was probably us playing with the Ouija board, to be honest. Yeah, that was just, it was one of the creepiest experiences I had, and I think that's all of my experiences with Megan. By the way, I got her blessing to film this video, so she's not going to be upset with me. Yes, I used her real name. Thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and give this video a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!